Before we start this video, leave a like on the video and subscribe so I keep making audiobooks. So today's shout out is for David Williams' books read with expression. If you want a shout out, just put in the comments why you like my audiobooks and also your YouTube channel name. Tom Gates' Everything's Amazing, Sort of, by Liz Pigeon. I'm in a very good mood today for lots of reasons. Reason 1. I found more excellent ways to use Delia's sunglasses that she doesn't know about. 2. I ran twice round the garden before my toast popped up, which is a new Tom Gates world record. 3. My toast doodles looked amazing, especially the one of Delia, and I'm even a bit early for school. Mr. Fullman looks shocked to see me in class on time. He says, "This is a nice surprise, Tom," and smiles, which doesn't happen very often. Then Marcus pulls a face at me, which does happen a lot, but nothing can put me in a bad mood today apart from these 2 words: maths lesson. Then it gets worse. Maths lesson with Mrs. Worthington, and worse. Now I've stopped smiling. Luckily, Amy Porter sits next to me in class, and she loves maths. She can't get enough of maths, which is handy for me because this is how much I like maths. I hate maths off the scale. So when I get stuck on something tricky, I can take a speedy look at Amy's correct answers like this. But if I look the other way like this, all I get is Marcus Meldrews' rubbish answers. He's almost as bad at maths as me, but from the way he punches the air and says, "Yes, maths is my favourite," you'd think he was a maths genius. He's not. Then Mrs. Worthingtash appears. I call her that because she has a slightly furry top lip. Just to be clear, I never ever say Mrs. Worthingtash out loud. She announces to the whole class that if we're really good all lesson, we can do her special maths quiz. "It will be such fabulous fun with numbers," she says enthusiastically. I doubt it. Marcus tells Amy, "You can be on my team." Amy looks thrilled. Marcus is behaving like a right twit. He keeps grinning and nodding at everything Mrs. Worthingtash is saying. Yes, yes. Ever since Marcus was caught cheating on the Gold Star Award chart, he's been trying to get back into all the teachers' good books. It's sort of working too, because Mrs. Worthingtash congratulates Marcus on being so wonderfully keen today. He's sitting up straight, looking even more pleased with himself now, if that's even possible. I tell Amy that keen is just another word for irritating, which makes her laugh. Then Mrs. Worthingtash asks, "Would you like to share your joke with the whole class, Tom?" We both keep very quiet. Unlike Marcus, who won't shut up, he's got his hand up and wants to know if we'll be doing timetable squares today. Then he says, "I've been practicing a lot, Mrs. Worthington." And Mrs. Worthingtash says, "Well done for reminding me, Marcus. Yes, we will be doing timetable squares today. Is everyone ready?" Nice work, Marcus. Still, it could be worse. At least I get to do a bit of drawing, even if it's just lines and numbers. Here goes. So far, so good. I'm busy trying to fill in my square, doing table ones I know first, 2 and 10 times table. Marcus keeps saying, "This is so easy," but I can see that he's made loads of mistakes already. I take a quick glance in Amy's direction, just to check I'm doing okay. She's nearly finished hers. Then it gets a bit tricky. I have to use my fingers to count on. Doesn't everyone? Marcus starts deliberately counting louder than me, which is really putting me off. I keep losing my place. 10, 15, 20, 2, 4, 6. I've lost my place again. He's driving me crazy. I can't concentrate with him next to me, being all smug and noisy. 7, 14, 21. It's impossible to write my numbers properly. So I start doodle instead. What lion? Marcus, noisy and annoying. Then I do another one. One more. Alright, all finished. Mrs. Worthingtash spots Norman Watson leaning back in his chair, so tells him to sit up properly. Then she says, "Now everyone, put down your pens and listen carefully," which is a shame because I didn't get to finish this drawing, all my timetable squares. Oh well, I'll fit it in all during the rest of the lesson. I'm trying to work very hard to pay attention to Mrs. Worthingtash. She is busy teaching the lesson and saying things like, count how many jots there are, then times that by the number of squares, blah 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 blah. Mysteriously, my eyelids seem to be getting heavier and heavier and heavier. I force them back open by trying to concentrate on what she is saying. The trouble is, it sounds like she's speaking another language, one I don't understand. Bloggle, buggle, wobble, opple, uggle, wobble, strobble, bimple, flung, wallop, poggle, wobble, flobble, okay? And to make things worse, Mrs. Worthingtash keeps moving closer and closer to me, so I can see her moustache a bit too clearly for my liking. It's even harder to concentrate now. I find myself staring at the number of hairs she has under her nose and counting them, which is helping me keep my eyes open. I have counted almost 15 hairs when Mrs. Worthingtash asks me, "Are you all right, Tom?" I don't want to be rude or bring attention to the fact that I haven't finished my times table squares yet, so I am very polite and say, "I'm fine, thank you, Mrs. Worthingtash." And she says, "I'm sorry, Tom, what did you say?" So I say it a bit louder. "I'm fine, thank you, Mrs. Worthingtash." Did I just say that out loud? From the way Mrs. Worthington is glaring at me, I'm guessing I did. Yep, I did. This might take some explaining. I try my best, because I have a terrible cold and sneeze just crept up on me unexpectedly when I said your name, like Mrs. Worthingtash. Sniff, sniff. I'm not sure Mrs. Worthington is convinced. Luckily for me, Norman Watson comes to my rescue by falling backwards in his chair again. Now, he's waving his legs around in the air like an upturned turtle because he's stuck. Mrs. Worthington goes to help him and tells me, "I'll deal with you later, Tom." That does not sound good. Later, my maths teacher's name is Mrs. Worthington, Mrs. Worthington, Mrs. Worthington, Mrs. Worthington, Mrs. Worthington, Mrs. Worthington, Mrs. Worthingtash, Mrs. Worthingtash, Mrs. Worthington. I won't make that mistake out loud again. Break time. News travels fast in our school. Everyone seems to know about my moustache mistake. Derek is laughing a lot until I tell him about the lines I had to do and the extra maths homework, which he thinks is harsh. So to cheer me up, Derek suggests we can go and have a game of Champ. It's an excellent idea. Champ is a top game to play for lots of reasons. You don't need much stuff, ball and chalk. 2, it's super fast, so you never get bored. 3, me and Derek are pretty good at Champ. When we get to the Champ corner, some little kids have already drawn out a Champ square and are about to start playing. Derek asks if we can join in the game, but they don't seem that keen. "I promise we won't hit the ball hard," I say, in case they're worried. "I will, because I am the Champ," the smallest girl says. Derek whispers she won't be Champ for very long. Here are the rules of Champ, in case you didn't know. It's pretty easy. Rules of Champ. It's a bit like cheap tennis. Use your hand to hit the ball, no scooping. Only one bounce allowed, but the ball can go to any of the 4 squares. To become the Champ, you move around the squares, but if you're out, you go to the back of the queue, or to the square 4 if there's no one waiting. You must try to stay in Champ Square for as long as possible to become the ultimate Champ. Oh yeah. Our mate Solid, who's the tallest boy in school, wants to join in. Then the little kids seem okay about that, even though Solid looks like a giant standing next to them. When we start playing, those little kids are a lot quicker than I expect. I've only hit 1 ball when, pow, I'm already out. "Bad luck, back of the queue for you," the girl says. Solid is in next, but he's a bit slow hitting the ball, but not as slow as Derek. "You're out," Champ Girl says. Turns out that being as tall as Solid isn't much help reaching the low shots in Champ. Then he puts me back in the game. Missed. When Derek joins in, we try hitting the ball. Backwards and forwards to me, then to Derek, then to me. Derek is the only way not to get me out, and works well until I accidentally pass the ball to the Champ Girl. Then, whack! The ball comes back so fast I don't even see it. go into my corner of the square. Out again, the champ girl shouts. This isn't as much fun as I thought it would be. The school bell rings, which saves me from champ humiliation. Let's have a rematch at lunchtime, the little girl suggests. Maybe not. I'm very busy, I say. Don't worry, she adds. Winning won't take long. Exactly. I'm almost looking forward to going back to class now until I remember what my next lesson is. English with Mr. Fullerman. I think Mr. Fullerman has been chit-chatting with Mrs. Worthington in the teacher's staff room during break. He said, What? As soon as I come into class, he says to me, I've been told to keep a special eye on you, Tom, which is a worry. Mr. Fullerman with his special eye. Marcus has a book open already and is busy drawing something that he wants me to look at. What now? Hilarious, Marcus. You are the funniest person in the whole school. This is you, Tom. Moustache. Ha 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 ha. Just when I think about today's lesson is going to be worse than maths, Mr. Fullerman announces that he would like us to write a piece about a pet or an animal. Don't forget to include lots of interesting information, descriptions, or stories and facts about whatever creature you choose, which is amazing and perfect timing because last weekend Derek and I took Rooster, Derek's dog, to the local dog show, so I have loads of good stories to tell now, but I can't start writing yet. Because one, Julia Morton is saying she doesn't have a pet and can't think of what to write about. 2, Mark Lump has too many pets and wants to know if he can write about snakes and lizards. 3, Norman Watson has found a tiny spider and passes it to Julian, so she has something to write about now. Mr. Fullerman tells Julia to stop screaming and everyone else to sit down, calm down and think of an imaginary pet if you don't have one yourself. This imaginary pet might be fun to write about. I am a little tweet. Better not. Rooster at the Dog Show by Tom Gates. I don't have a pet unless you count my sister Delia, who's not really human. But my best mate Derek has a dog called Rooster. He's quite small with long ears. He eats lots of stuff he shouldn't. Rooster is not normally the sort of dog you would enter into a dog show, unless there was a prize for a dog with the weirdest name. So when Derek and I saw a poster that said, Local Dog Show, all dogs welcome, whatever shape or size, we decided it might be fun to take Rooster along. Derek said he knew exactly where the dog show was being held, which was just as well, because Rooster had already chewed the whole poster up. Back at Derek's house, Mrs. Fingal, Derek's mum, suggested that Rooster might need a bit of a clean if we're taking him to a dog show. It was a very good idea, especially after our walk. But not easy to do. Eventually, we persuaded Rooster to stay still long enough to get brushed. There was a lot of unusual stuff lurking in his fur. After a lot of brushing, Rooster looked much nicer, but he still smelt the same. It's not good. It's no good, Derek said, holding his nose. We'll have to give him a wash. And that took even longer. We needed a few more doggy treats before Rooster finally jumped into the dog bath and straight back out again. At least he was a tiny bit cleaner. Rooster shook himself dry, had a nice dinner, and didn't seem to mind having his teeth brushed. Mrs. Fingal thought Rooster looked like a totally different dog. Derek said he smelled different too. I said, it's called clean. Let's hope he stays the way for the dog show tomorrow, Derek says. Don't worry, he'll look amazing, I said. Just a little bit too much. What have you done? He looks like a poodle, Derek says. It will flatten down by the time we get there, I say hopefully. And the poster did say, all dogs welcome, whatever shapes or size. Rooster was so fluffy, it took ages for Derek to find his collar and put on his lead. Then we had to rush to the park where the dog show was about to start. It was very windy and big gusts kept catching Rooster's fur from behind, which wasn't helping much. At least he's not the only dog who's all fluffy, Derek said, looking round the dog show. He was right. There were loads of dogs more scruffier and fluffier than Rooster. We paid Rooster's entrance fee and decided what categories we should put him in. Shame there's not a best fluffy ball in show, I said, which made Derek laugh. We chose 4 in the end. Dog with the waggiest tail, friendliest dog, cutest dog, Dog and spoon race. Derek handed in the form while I tried to defluff Rooster a little bit more. Then I heard a voice behind me saying, "Is that your dog, Tom?" It was Marcus Meldrew with his very teeny weeny little dog. "No, it's Derek's dog, actually," I said. Then Marcus started to laugh, and he said, "If there was a prize for most stupid looking dog in show, you'd win that." And I said, "If there was a prize for the dog who looks most like a small rat, you'd win that," which shut Marcus up. Then his dog suddenly got a big whiff of barbecue and ran off in search of sausages, pulling Marcus behind him. Derek came back just in time to see Marcus being dragged away by his tiny dog. We were so busy laughing at Marcus running around, we nearly missed Rooster's first event. Dog with the waggliest tail was a close competition for all the dogs apart from Rooster, who sat on his tail the whole time, which didn't help the judges much. First prize for friendliest dog went to a big old soppy dog that looked like he was smiling. Dog that most looks like his owner was next. Due to Derek's hair not being fluffy, we decided not to enter Rooster. Marcus was there and frowning a lot, just like his dog. He wasn't happy about leaving the barbecue. The judges awarded Marcus third prize. So now it's official. Marcus Meldrew looks like his dog, who looks like a rat. Rooster got a few in cutest dogs in show, but nothing else. I told Derek there was always dog and spoon race. "Good luck," I said to them both, hopefully. At the start line, the dogs were all barking and sniffing. Most of the dogs had entered and everybody was trying not to drop their egg. When the official starter shouted, "On your marks, get set, woof!" the dogs got really confused, and so did the owners. It was chaos. Rooster wasn't the only dog to run round in circles. Derek managed to untangle Rooster's lead and they set off in the right direction, followed closely by the other dogs, and that's when I noticed that Marcus Meldrew was cheating, holding the egg down with his thumb. He walked really fast, right past Derek and Rooster. Smiley Dog wasn't far behind either. I cheered, "Rooster! Rooster! Rooster!" Then Marcus accidentally squeezed the egg just a little bit too much until crack. His thumb broke. The shell and egg went everywhere. His tiny dog stopped suddenly, sniffed the ground, then ran back to eat the egg, along with most of the other dogs too, who were all hungry. Derek kept going, and Rooster, who's not keen on eggs, ran all the way to the finish line, where they both finished first place. Smiley Dog came second, and a bundle of dogs came third at the same time. Derek was very pleased they won, and so was I. He was presented with a first place certificate, and Rooster was given a rosette to wear that said, "Winner!" Well, it did say winner until Rooster got hungry, and now it says, "No." Mr. Fullerman, I hope you are very impressed that I have written a ton of pages this lesson. It probably won't happen again for a long time. My hand feels like it's about to drop off. I worked very hard in case you're giving prizes or a lot of merits. Well done, Tom. You did work hard. Keep it up. 5 merits. Instead, I put 55 merits. You got 55 merits? Marcus has been snooping over my shoulder again. Yes, I say, it was a great story. I added the extra 5 when he wasn't looking. He's telling everyone how I got 55 merits, which is pretty funny. I keep a straight face, so he doesn't suspect a thing. I've had a lot of practice at keeping a straight face in tricky situations. That was a close shave. At home. When I get home from school, Dad says he's got a surprise for a result outside. Mum looks shocked. Really? I'm curious, and Delia's just grumpy. Who cares? We're getting something big that will make a huge difference to our family. Right away, I'm thinking, a massive TV at last, which is brilliant news because our telly is very old. If I ever mention that to Dad, he always says, "Our telly's not old. I grew up watching black and white TV with no remote control and an aerial that you had to move around the room just to get a good picture. You don't know how lucky you are, Tom. So I'm hoping today might be my lucky day after all." We all follow Dad outside. It's not a TV. Mum says, "What have you done?" Which is probably not the reaction Dad was hoping for. It's a Dino Village van. I quickly get over my initial disappointment and decide that a brightly coloured van that looks like a dinosaur might be fun. Delia doesn't see it that way. "Why would you ever think that van was a good idea?" she asks. "We can go camping in it too," Dad says. "No, you can go camping in it," Mum says crossly. Dad explains that he's doing some work for Dino Village, which is a really small theme park with dinosaurs. He's allowed to use the van for free as part of his job. Dad says, "It's not like I bought it," which is a relief to Mum, until Dad says, "Yet." So while they are both having a heated discussion about that van, I go back inside and take out a very important birthday list that I've been working on. I put it on the fridge where everyone can see it, even Delia. My birthday list: new guitar, big TV for my room, pet, dog, cat, rabbit, excellent clothes, cool art stuff, treats, caramel wafers, do 3 new album, joke stuff, games of any kind. My list will remind Mum to tell other family members what I'm hoping for. I've had a few dodgy gifts in the past, especially from my Granny Mavis and Grandad Bob, or the fossils as I call them. It's true, I'm making sure that my list can be easily spotted by the fossils, who have just arrived to babysit me while Mum and Dad go out for dinner tonight. They didn't trust Delia. Granny says, "I'll have to get a baking for your birthday, won't I, Tom?" I want to say, "No, Granny, anything but your cooking," but instead I say, "You don't need to have to bake, Granny," but she insists that it's no bother at all. Great. Then Grandad Bob picks up a couple of spoons, puts them together and starts playing them like an instrument. I could be the party entertainer at your birthday, Tom. What do you think? 1, Grandad might need to learn a few more tunes first. 2, Granny offering to bake for me is a worry. Grandad tries to teach me how to play the spoons, but I can't get them to click together like he can. Delia walks in and sees us. Doesn't anyone in my family do anything normal? She's not very impressed with my birthday list either. Then Granny asks Delia how her nice boyfriend Ed is, which makes her storm upstairs in a sulk. "Oh dear," Granny says when I tell her that they split up. "She was too grumpy," I explain. "I'm just guessing that's the reason. It could be. Rude, miserable, annoying and sulky. Take your pick." Mum and Dad are late for dinner because Mum doesn't want to go in that van until it gets dark. Grandad says they can borrow his mobility scooter. "It's quite nippy, you know," he says, but I think Dad wants to take them to take the van for a drive. Derek has seen the van from his window and calls me up. He thinks it's quite cool. Then we chat a bit about D3's new album coming soon, on my birthday list, and when we should have our next band practice for Dog Zombies. This weekend, what snacks? The usual, caramel wafers. Oh yeah, maybe that nice juice too. It's all very important stuff. Talking of important stuff, as I'm getting ready for bed, I notice that someone, Delia, has added a couple of extra things to my birthday list. Ha ha, very funny, Delia. New album, joke stuff, games of any kind. Get me a cardboard box and fluffy earmuffs. Then Granny says she's made a special bedtime snack. "I'll bring it upstairs for you, Tom," and I say, "Great," but inside I'm thinking, oh no. Granny Mavis comes into my room holding a very nice cup of something that looks like it could be hot chocolate with orange finger biscuits, which is amazing. But wrong. Custard and a carrot. Custard and carrot sticks, one of my favourites. I think quickly and say, "You have it, Granny, I'll be fine," but that doesn't work. "Brush your teeth after you've finished." Yum, I will. I say goodnight, and when she's gone, I hide the cup under my bed. Art lesson. Yeah! In the morning, Delia wakes me up by slamming the bathroom door. I forget all about the carrot and custard under my bed and managed to knock it over with my feet, which is not a great start to the day. At least I have art to look forward to this morning. It's my favourite lesson ever. Derek and I are about to take Watt to school when he wants to take a closer look at the dino van. It's over there. You can't miss it. The van looks a lot brighter than I remember. We're not the only ones staring at it. At the school gates, Mr. Keene is usually greeting to everyone. Morning, morning, morning. I tell Derek it sounds like he's saying, money, money, money. I test out my theory by saying, money, Mr. Keene, really fast. So, money, Mr. Keene. Mr. Keene smiles and waves in our direction. I wonder what else I could pretend to say. Derek thinks meerkat sounds a bit like, here, sir. I'm not too sure. I'm going to try saying that at registration, he tells me. I say, good luck with that one, Derek. He'll need it. Meerkat, sir. See me after class, Derek. In class, there are two words I would normally never say together. Happy and homework. But I can't believe Mr. Fullerman has just handed out the best homework I've ever had in my life. We have to decorate covers for our new sketchbooks any way we want to. I can't wait. I start doodling straight away, but Mr. Fullerman tells me to stop. Homework is for you to do at home, Tom. Shame. Mr. Fullerman has set up what is called a marvellous still life on every table. I call it a plate of fruit. The class is split up into groups around each marvellous still life. He says we need to look carefully at each piece of fruit, then use our pencils to paint to capture it like it's alive or something. I'm trying to listen to Mr. Fullerman, but Norman, who's on my table, is being twitchy. He thinks it's funny to put a pineapple on his head and do a silly dance, which is quite funny actually. Then Mark Clump says he can see a real worm inside the apple. Julia Morton can't see anything because Solid is sitting in her way. So Solid moves. And he jogs Leroy Lewis, who's holding over a pot of paint. The paint goes all over the table and some flicks onto my book. That's a bit annoying. Mr. Fullerman uses his "What do you think you're doing?" voice and a stern stare to keep everything under control. He tells us to move while the mess gets cleared up. Well, most of the mess. Might as well put the splodges of ink to good use and draw this. What blobs of paint? Back to the still life now. Norman keeps eating the grapes, so I draw in his hand for evidence. My still life is okay, not bad for a first go. Drawing the lemons has given me an idea for something else I could try. When Mr. Fullerman's not looking, I do a little extra still life picture. Title, Mr. Fullerman and Lemons. Amy Porter and everyone on my table are laughing at my lemon picture a little too much. Mr. Fullerman comes over and says, "Less laughing, more drawing." I cover up the drawing quickly, then I pretend I'm studying the lemons closely before I start another drawing, like this. At the end of the lesson, Mr. Fullerman hands out some letters for everyone to take home. There is one worksheet that we have to read at home and also a letter about some special pen in the latest newsletter. The pen letter looks interesting. I put that in my pocket so it doesn't get too scrunched. The rest I'm just about to stuff in the bottom of my bag like normal when on one line in the newsletter catches my eye. Oakfield School. Congratulations to Claudia for winning the poetry competition with her "I Love My Dog Sid" poem. Boring. Lucy stayed silent for a whole school day and raised lots of money for charity, which is fantastic. A bit interesting. Ben in class 2D has passed his grade 2 violin. This one really catches my eye. Get your tickets for the Oakfield Disco, a special school band, Dog Zombies, will be playing at this year's school disco. It says Dog Zombies will be playing at this year's school disco. Huh, that's news to me. I ask Norman, who's in Dog Zombie's new drummer, if he can remember anything about us playing at the school disco, and he says, "No, but I can remember what I had for breakfast, if that helps." No, not really, Norman. Playing in front of loads of people at the school disco could be a disaster, as dog zombies aren't that good yet. I tell Norman that the only way for us to avoid total band humiliation is to 1. Practice more, or find a good excuse not to play at the school disco. Norman suggests we could always play at the leafy green old folks' home again. Dog Zombie's first ever gig, by the way. The crowd loved us. They went wild, which is sort of true. While we're discussing what to do, Mr. Fullerman only goes and tells the whole class, "This year at the school disco, there's an extra treat for us. Dog Zombies, Tom, Norman and Derek's band will be playing. Isn't that right, Tom?" I nod, but not very much, like it's not a big deal, unlike Norman, who is standing up, taking a bow and pretending to play the drums. Marcus says, "He's in your band? This should be a laugh." Thanks for your support, Marcus. When it's break time, I catch up with Derek and show him the newsletter. I'm surprised. He thinks we should play. Mr. Keane asked us to do it, remember? No, not really. He was impressed we played at the old folks' home and wanted us to play for the whole school as well, for a treat. Not much of a treat if you ask me. Speaking of treats, Mr. Fullerman says that for history today he has a very interesting programme for us to watch, which is excellent news because it means I can just sit back and relax, then do a few doodles while pretending to be taking notes. The classroom is slightly dark, so even Mr. Fullerman with his beady eyes can't see everything, which is just as well, as it gives me a chance to close my eyes for a rest. Trouble is, I keep thinking about weird combinations of food I don't want Granny Mavis to make for my birthday. Or ever. On the way home from school, Derek tells me playing in Dog Zombies is fine. It's going to be the school disco. I'm not really looking forward to it. Why's that? I can think of a few reasons not to go myself. Derek says, if my dad volunteers to be the school disco DJ again, it was total humiliation for me. I'd forgotten about Derek's dad at the disco. He was very embarrassing, playing all his old records and a few new ones. He kept saying things like, "This one's a classic, kids," and "tune" into the microphone. Derek wasn't happy at all. He only cheered up when a teacher called Mr. Sprocket suddenly decided to take to the dance floor and show us all what he called old school break dancing. Look and learn, kids. Everyone clapped and shouted, "Go, sir! Go, sir! Go, sir!" until Mr. Sprocket got a bit tangled up while spinning on the dance floor. He needed an ambulance to take him to hospital. I told Derek, now we know why it's called breakdancing, as we watched Mr. Sprocket being driven away. Derek's dad, or DJ Dad as some kids were now calling him, had to pack up early because of Mr. Sprocket's unfortunate injury, which was a huge relief for Derek. Right now, I'm trying to convince Derek that his dad might not even want to be the DJ again. Are you kidding me? He's desperate to get out his old records. So I make a few suggestions. 1, we go back to Derek's house to make a plan. 2, Derek gets rid of the newsletter and any information about the school disco. 3, we eat some cake. Anything delicious we can find while thinking of places to hide his dad's records. Bin, under the table. It's a good plan. Back at Derek's house, between mouthfuls of cake, I do a good impression of Mr. Sprocket breakdancing, which makes Derek laugh. Then Derek uses the cake stand, now empty, and pretends it's a record table. He says in a really funny voice, "This one's a classic, dudes," followed by some of his dad's terrible DJ dancing moves. It's hilarious. Then he says, "Guess who this is?" followed by "tune." "What's this, another school disco?" And I say, "That's amazing, Derek. You sounded just like your dad." And then Derek says, "Hello, Dad," because Mr. Fingal is standing right behind me, which is a bit awkward. Derek tries to explain to his dad all the reasons why we really doesn't need him to be the DJ at this year's school disco or ever again. He says, "It was the most embarrassing day of my life." Mr. Fingal is laughing when he says, "for now." Then he asks me, "Was I that embarrassing, Tom?" I want to say, "Yes, Mr. Fingal, I was embarrassed for you, especially when you kept saying, 'Tune.' That was just total cringe." But I didn't want to make Derek feel any worse, so instead I say, "I'm just really glad that my dad would never be the school DJ, Mr. Fingal." Good answer. And he says, "Don't be too sure, Tom. I think your dad has volunteered to be the DJ this year." Huh? Mr. Fingal is laughing and Derek is rolling his eyes, so I think he's joking. I hope he is. It's exactly the sort of thing my dad would do. I really hope he hasn't volunteered. When I get home, Dad's out, so I can't ask him about being a DJ. Mum says he's no idea what he's up to. It sounds like something he might do. That's just great. Then Delia butts in and she says, "Dad's definitely going to be the DJ at your school." And I say, "How do you know?" "Because he told me, stupid, and I've seen his special costume." "What special costume?" "The one he's bought to wear at your school disco." Mum says, "Delia's joking, I think." She's not sure either. Ever since Dad turned up with the surprise dino van, who knows what he'll do next? Mum says she'll ask him about it later, but I can't wait that long. So before I go to bed, I take a sneaky peek upstairs to see if I can find evidence of any embarrassing costumes that might be lurking around. It's so much worse than I thought. Dinosaur costume. In the morning, I'm very tired because last night I had a terrible dream that Dad was the DJ at the school. He wore a really embarrassing costumes. All the kids gathered round me, pointing and asking, "Is that your dad in that stupid costume? Is that your dad in the stupid costume? Is that your dad in the stupid costume?" When I woke up, I realised that my dream could actually come true, which was a nightmare. And to make it worse, I haven't forgotten about dog zombies playing at the disco in front of everyone. Now I'm late for school because the only jumper I can find is hanging on the washing line outside and it's damp. Dad suggests I throw it in the tumble dryer on full power for a bit, which seems to be a good idea and works a treat, drying my jumper out nicely. I'm just about to ask Derek about being a DJ and what the stupid costume is for, when Mum rushes in and says, "What are you still doing here? You're late." It makes Dad jump out of his seat and dash to the shed. "I meant you, Tom. Go on, get going," Mum says. "I'll have to ask Dad later." Groan. I'm only just make it to class on school because I run. Mr. Fullerman is already staring at me. He says, "Tom, where is your school jumper?" "Round my waist and still nice and warm from the tumble dryer." I try to put it on, and that's when I realise that there might be a very small problem. My jumper seems to have shrunk quite a lot. Mr. Fullerman is watching me squeeze the jumper over my head. The class start laughing, so he tells me to hurry up. I'm trying to stretch my jumper over a little more by pulling at the sleeves, but they won't go down any further. Marcus is sniggering at me, which is not very helpful. Ha ha. So I ask him, "What's so funny? Haven't you heard of shrink knit?" Good thinking. He says, "Yeah, right." And I say, "All the cool kids are wearing them, like me." That's got him thinking. I'm very convincing. I still can't believe my jumper shrunk so much in a short space of time. I wriggle round to ease my jumper down just a tiny bit more before we have to go to assembly. Mr. Keane, our headmaster, says, "Good morning, Oakfield School." "Good morning, Mr. Keane." Then he starts talking about this and that. I'm trying to listen, but it's difficult to concentrate because my jumper is so snug. I'm getting hot and slightly uncomfortable. I keep moving around, but it won't loosen up. Fidget, fidget. Mr. Keane stops talking and looks in my direction. "Whoever has ants in their pants, can they stop fidgeting?" "That'll be me then." When everyone stands up to sing, "Oh, what a beautiful morning," I take the opportunity to pull down my jumper without bringing too much attention to myself. It's not working that well as some kids are staring at me. So I pretend my tiny jumper is a perfectly fine and stylish and definitely not a mistake. Mr. Keene announces that before we go back to class, Ryan and Kevin from Class 4A have a special pen demonstration to show us. Then Ryan comes up to the front with his mini scooter. He scoots across the floor and props his scooter up against the table. Kevin wanders along and pretends to find Ryan's scooter. He's doing some very bad acting now. Ryan shouts, "Hey, that's my scooter," and Kevin says, "No, it's mine." Then Ryan looks at all of us and says in a really wooden voice, "I will prove it. I will prove it's my scooter." Then Kevin says, "This scooter is mine, sucker," which gets a laugh, because I don't think he was supposed to say sucker. Ryan says, "We'll see," and gets a torch. He looks under the scooter and says, "Look, nothing there." Everyone is leaning forward to see. Then he shines his special torch and a glowing letter appears. "Ryan Roberts, code 2468. Now there is." We go, "Ooh," like it's a magic trick, and everyone claps. Mr. Keene thanks Ryan and Kevin, who take a bow. They are looking very pleased with themselves. He tells us that caretaker Stan has suggested all bikes and scooters brought into school should be marked with these ultraviolet pens. I'm thinking that this pen would be perfect to use on all of my copies of Rock Weekly. Might stop Delia from pinching and claiming they're hers. Mine! The possibilities for this pen are endless. Delia's boots, Delia's a fool. Mr. Keene says Mrs. Mumble will be selling the pens from tomorrow, but we need to remember our signed home letters and money. I won't forget. Then he says, "Put your hand up if you think you might like to get one." Lots of hands shoot up, really fast. Due to my very tight jumper sleeves, my hand takes a bit longer to stretch, but I get there in the end. I see Derek at break time and he says, "What's with the small jumper?" I explain what happened and how I'm trying to stretch the jumper out a bit more. Then he suggests a game of champ might help. It's okay, the champ girl is away, he adds. Maybe tomorrow, because I can't even scratch my head, let alone hit a ball. I spend the rest of the day trying not to move very much in lessons and explaining to everyone who asks what I'm wearing is a very special shrink knit. A lot of people won't know. They'll be everywhere, trust me, I keep saying. Home time and the end of the day can't come soon enough. Birthday countdown. At home, I have another struggle with my small jumper. Once it's off, I go downstairs to search for a well-deserved treat in the kitchen when Mum asks me if I'd like a party this year for my birthday. Normally, I'd love a party because lots of people equals lots of presents, but right now I'm not sure. What's wrong, Tom? I've only asked you if you want a party, not a plate of slugs, Mum says. I take a deep breath and explain that 1, Granny Mavis might want a bake for my birthday, which could be a problem. Sausage on a cake. 2, Grandad is a bit too keen on playing the spoons at my party entertainment. His false teeth will probably make an appearance too, which is quite entertaining but not for everyone. 3, I'm really worried Dad has volunteered to be the DJ at my school disco and at my party too, if I have one. 4, and in case I'm not embarrassed enough, he'll probably wear that stupid costume I found. I can hear Dad laughing in the background. He's been standing there listening. Great. Don't panic, Tom. Mr. Finger was only joking. I'm not the school DJ this year, and the costume is for something else completely, which is a huge relief for you. But Mum and Dad both say there's absolutely nothing they can do about Granny and Grandad. They dance to their own tune, Dad tells me, which is true. I've seen them. I change my mind and tell Mum that I would like to have a party after all. Then Dad says he has another surprise just for me. Not like this one, I hope. He shows me some invitations. How would you like to have a Dino Village party for you and your friends, plus your 2 cousins? I can't fit any more than that in the van. It's an excellent idea. To be honest, I'm so relieved Dad's not the school DJ. I would have been happy with any kind of party surprise. I can invite me, obviously, Derek, Norman, Solid, Mark Clump, cousin and cousin. Delia comes in and says to Dad, "He's not having a party here, is he?" Dad says, "No," but reminds Delia that I'm still allowed parties in the house. unlike you after last time. Good point. Dad, I wish I thought of that myself. Mum says Delia is very welcome to come to my Dino Village party. She is? I don't think so. Delia says, let me think about it for a while. No, which is another huge relief. Now, my party is all decided. Mum gives me some invitations to fill out. They look a bit boring, so I do a few doodles, which I think is a big improvement. My doodles remind me I still have the letter about my special pen in my pocket. I ask Mum to sign it, and please can I have money too? I'm hoping she won't give me the exact amount so I can buy snacks with any change. Mum wants to know if there are any other important letters for her to see. Just the school newsletter and my worksheet, nothing important, so I say, no, not really. New craze, sort of. There's only a few days to go until my birthday now. I'm officially excited. Must remember to bring my party invitations with me to give out. I'm forced to wear my small jumper again because I have no idea where my other one's gone. At least now the arms have stretched. It's a bit more comfy. Delia sees me and says, "What's wrong with your jumper?" "Nothing. I've just grown. Grown more stupid, if that's possible. You look ridiculous." And I say, says the girl who wears sunglasses all the time, which makes her walk off in a huff. Dad has put a message up on his window that reminds me to bring money for the ultraviolet pens. I have to remember to take my bike as well, as my party invitations are quite heavy. What? Somehow. Derek is waiting for me by the gate, so I give him his invitation straight away. He says, "Shame, I can't come. I'm busy at that day." Quickly followed by, "Only joking." Very funny, Derek. Now he's doing an impression of me looking shocked. That's not me. It is. I change the subject and remind Derek about dog zombies playing at the school disco and how we need loads more practice. I'll ask Norman if he's free tonight when I give him my party invitation. Good thinking. When we get to school, I hand out Solid's invite, but Norman's not there. Solid says he's twisted his knee. He was playing champ against those little kids. They were a bit too good for him. Norman kept falling over, which doesn't sound good. Mark Clump is very happy to get the invitation. Dino Village is full of creatures and good stuff too, which is excellent news. But Mr. Fullerman doesn't look too happy. He wants to know if I'd like to borrow a larger school jumper from the spare clothes box. No thanks. I assure him that my jumper is fine now, and I'm planning to get a new one soon, which is true. I hope I don't get into trouble, as it is not uniform after all, just a bit small. Marcus Meldrew is busy eyeballing the invitations on my desks. He says, "What are they?" I say, "Nothing." Then he says, "Are they our party invitation for Dino Village?" Marcus has obviously been snooping around again. So I say, "Might be." And he says, "That's embarrassing for you." "Why's that, Marcus?" Dinosaur parties are for little kids, aren't they? Then Amy sits down on the other side and she says, "Sounds like fun to me." Marcus adds, "Well, you wouldn't catch me having a party somewhere like that. Too boring. Dullo Village, more like." So I say, "Yes, you're right, Marcus. It will be boring and dull. So it's just as well you're not coming then," which shuts him up. Then Amy says, "Am I invited?" which is a surprise. I didn't even think of asking Amy. Dad said I could only invite 4 people, but I hear myself saying, "Of course you can come. I'll give her Norman's invitation." Then she says, "Can Florence come too?" And I say, "Yes, I have her invitation at home. I can't invite just one cousin, so that's both of them off my birthday list then." Amy says she is really looking forward to seeing dog zombies playing at the school disco. And I say, "You are?" And Marcus mutters, "I'm not." So I ignore him and listen to Amy, who tells me that she's heard quite a few kids are talking about dog zombies playing at the school disco, the new kids craze for shrink-knit jumpers like mine. I'm getting used to people staring at my jumper, but I'm wondering how the other kids would know about dog zombies. So I point out that dog zombies have only played one gig. Amy says, "They must have read in the newsletter, remember? It's all coming back to me now. Not reading my worksheet before stuffing into my bag turns out to be a bit of a problem too." Mr. Fullerman has just handed out Worksheet 2. Worksheet 1 is still scrunched up in my bag. While Mr. Fullerman is at the back of the class, I have a quick route around to see if I can find it. That's when I discover that due to a leaking drinks garden, they have both turned to mush. Never mind, it'll be fine. I can do without them. Then Mr. Fullerman says, "You should all have read Worksheet 1 for your homework." No, because all the answers for Worksheet 2 are on Worksheet 1. Uh-oh. Trevor Peters puts up his hand and says, "I've lost my worksheet, sir. This could be a good time to mention my mushy worksheet." Mr. Fullerman says, "Not again, Trevor." He doesn't sound pleased. "Just share a worksheet for now. Stay after class and I'll give you a new one that goes for everyone." I keep quiet because I want to go straight to the office after school and get my ultraviolet pen, not hang around in class waiting for worksheets. I glance over at Marcus to see if he can share his. No chance. He's got his arm covering his work. Amy doesn't need her worksheet because she's memorised everything. So I'm a bit stuck. Oh well, I'll just have to fill in the blank spaces on Worksheet 2 using my imagination. How hard is that? Worksheet 2, Class 5F. Read Worksheet 1 and 2, then carefully answer the questions below by filling in the spaces. John was a small troll who lived in a mushroom in the city. He had short, red, hairy legs and a small, spotty face. He also had a sister that he called Idiot because one of its eyes slightly stuck out, which made his sister look a lot more stupid, if that was possible. John had quite a few hobbies. He liked nothing better than to play bongos, read and sometimes eat snacks. John loved to buy snacks, but it was one of these snack trips that he made a big discovery. John could actually eat loads. John thought he was a greedy troll. What could he do with this special power? Nothing. He decided he had to buy all the snacks he could. It was brilliant. Good news. Worksheet's done. That was easy. So I have lots of free time now to do some doodles. Bad news. Mr. Fullerman spots I've finished. He wants to see what I've been doing. Groan. From the way he's reading my work, I'm guessing it's not going too well. Tom, interesting answers, but it's clear you didn't read Worksheet 1. Come and see me after the lesson, Mr. Fullerman. This is a big problem. How am I going to be first in line for my ultraviolet pen now? The queue for my ultraviolet pen. I'll have to agree with everything Mr. Fullerman says so I can get away quickly. Yes, Mr. Fullerman. Yes, Mr. Fullerman. Blah, blah, blah. Most of the class have probably forgotten all about buying pens. It'll be fine. I'm not worried. The rest of the day, I'm finding it hard to concentrate. Everywhere I look, there are kids giving in letters about the pens or talking about buying them. Yeah! Now I'm worried that I won't get one. Marcus has already told me 4 times that he's buying a pen after school. I can't wait to buy my pen after school. 5 times. Grrr. When the bell goes for home time, the whole class head off in the direction of the school office. Everyone goes apart from me and Trevor Peters. I'm panicking now. I rush up to Mr. Fullerman's desk while he carries on writing. Be with you in a minute, boys. A minute? That's way too long. He's still writing. Now he's reading and crossing things off a list. It's been longer than a minute. Nearly there. He's taking ages. All the pens will have gone by the time I get there. I ask Trevor if he's going to buy a pen. He says, "No, I bought one from the shop already." Phew, one less person to worry about. Mr. Fullerman is humming and drumming his fingers on the table. I am desperate to tell him to hurry up, but I keep quiet, which is not easy to do. At last, Mr. Fullerman puts down his pen and says, "Right, what can I do for you both?" He doesn't even remember. I could have snuck out without everyone. Trevor reminds him about the worksheet. Oh yes, the worksheet. I need to print off a few more on the photocopier. Come with me, it won't take a minute. No, not another minute. Trevor and I follow Mr. Fullerman. I'm trying to walk quickly, so he gets the hint that I'm in a big hurry. Then Mrs. Worthington stops in to have a quick chat. I want to shout, "No stopping!" She says, "There's a big queue outside the school office, Mr. Fullerman." And I'm thinking, I should be in that queue. Then Mr. Fullerman wonders if the photocopier is working. It might be, but you never know, Mr. Fullerman says. Let's go and see then. Yes, let's. We walk past the queue that goes all the way down the corridor. I spot Derek, who's near the front, which is excellent news. I wave at him and make signs that say, "Please get me a pen. Please get me a pen." I hope he understands. He knows I've got my pen money with me. Mr. Fullerman loads the photocopier up with paper and says to please make sure you read the worksheets in future and don't lose them again. I haven't lost it, I just can't read mine. I say, yes sir, in the hope he'll let me go and queue. The next worksheets are just coming out of the photocopier when the machine suddenly jams. Mr. Fullerman starts fiddling with the paper and looking to see what's happened. This is annoying, he says. I know. To make things worse, kids are coming out of the office with their pens and torches and waving them around excitedly right under my nose. Caretaker Stan is busy showing everyone how to use them properly on their bikes. That's everyone apart from me. Just have to get the paper out, Mr. Fullerman says. So I make a helpful suggestion. We could forget all about the worksheet, sir. No, nearly there. You need to redo your homework, Tom. Groan. Finally, the photocopier starts and worksheets pop out. Hooray! 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 Then Trevor wants to ask a question. Why now? He wants Mr. Fullerman to explain something on the worksheet. So I tell Mr. Fullerman that I understand everything and can I go now? No questions then, Tom? Only, why does this have to take so long? But I don't say that out loud. Instead, I say, none, sir, and run to the end of the queue. There are only a few kids in front of me. I'm getting closer to the front. Bit closer, nearly there. When Mrs. Mumble starts to shake her head and says, I'm so sorry, but we've run out of pens. We'll get some more for next week, I promise. They've been so popular. No. This is a disaster. Mrs. Mumble suggests that maybe we could share a pen for now until we get our own. Good idea. I go and find Derek. He's riding on his bike and doing some extra doodles, which is exactly what I should be doing if I had a pen. I tell Derek I missed out on the pens. I was too late. Then I ask if I can use his pen just a tiny bit and Derek says, I'm not sure about that, which is not like Derek. So I say, I won't use much, promise. Derek says, no, it's because, just a tiny little go. And then Derek says, no, it's because. Then Derek starts laughing at me and says, no donut brain, it's because I've got you one already. Here, Derek is a genius. Result. He does an impression of me without a pen. With a pen. Hey! I write my name in special invisible ink on my bike. We test our handiwork with the torches. It looks amazing, glowing and very good indeed. Now I can't wait to get home and use it on my copies of Rock Weekly, next and anything else I can think of. I know, I should really finish my homework and read worksheet 1, but hey, first things first. Mum says she'll mention it to Auntie Alice, then she tells me that I can't possibly keep wearing such a ridiculous tiny jumper. Like it was my fault it shrank in the first place. Throw it in the tumble dryer on full power. We'll have to go to the shops to get a new one, which is not my idea of fun, though I admit it did take me a while to get dressed this morning. Science. Today, my first lesson is science. I can tell it's science because Mr. Fullerman is wearing his white coat. Occasionally, he puts on a pair of protective goggles that makes his eyes look even bigger than they really are. I have the most fun in science when we do experiments. Mr. Fullerman says we are studying forces in motion, which sounds sort of interesting, so I think I could be in luck. I can see there are different experiments around the classroom. Mr. Fullerman puts us in groups and explains how we have to record our results in a graph as we do the experiments. Sometimes it's easy to get carried away and forget, especially if something odd happens that you're not expecting. Me, Amy, Marcus and Solid are in one group. The first experiment is timing how long each object takes to fall from a certain height. Some objects are more interesting than others. Feather, ball, book, paper, stopwatch, not for dropping though. Marcus has already bagged the stopwatch. He says, "It's the most important part of the experiment." Typical. The rest of us take turns to drop stuff. Solid lets the feather go first. Drop from here. It takes a while to land. Next, Amy does the paper, but Marcus forgets to press start. She has to do it 3 times before he gets it right. It's not exactly exciting to watch. Then it's my turn to drop the book, which makes a nice loud thud when it lands. Marcus still doesn't press the stopwatch in time. He says, "Do it again." Solid has to help him. While they're fiddling with the watch, I try one extra experiment with a mint that I have in my bag. I say to Amy, "Let's see how long this takes to fall." I flick the mint up with my finger, then it falls down, rolls along the floor through some fluff, and lands near Mr. Fullerman's feet. I manage to pick it up quickly before he sees it. Phew. Marcus has given up on the stopwatch. He wants to drop the ball instead. We all want to get on to the next experiment now. Come on, Marcus. Amy takes over the stopwatch and says, "Okay, go." Marcus doesn't drop the ball. He bounces it really hard. The ball hits the ground, then flies back up to the ceiling. It comes off the ceiling and lands right on Mr. Fullerman's head before bouncing a few more times on the ground. Who did that? We all keep quiet, especially Marcus. Mr. Fullerman is looking in our direction and says, "If it happens again, we'll all be in trouble." Then stupidly I say, "It was an accident, Mr. Fullerman." Now he thinks I did it. Marcus just looks at his feet. Mr. Fullerman is in a really bad mood for the rest of the lesson and keeps his beady eyes on me the whole time too. Marcus says it wasn't his fault. It never is. Thanks, Marcus. Don't look at me. Me and Derek are having our lunch. I'm telling Derek what happened in science when he points in some little kids who are sitting at another table. He says, "Notice anything odd?" A lot of kids in our school are odd, so not really. The only thing I can see is they all have on what looks like really, really, really small jumpers. I'd forgotten about my jumper. It feels almost normal now. Maybe they're all shrunk in the tumble dryer like mine did. The kids get up to leave and walk past us. Derek asks them, "Hey, what's with the small jumpers? It's a new craze. Even your friend's wearing one too." So I say, "I think you'll find mine is an original shrink knit." I lift up my arms as much as I can to show them my jumper. They all look impressed. Solid is trying not to laugh, which is making him cough. Derek says, "Now I know how a new craze gets started." And I say, "Yes, by accident. I suggest we make eating caramel wafers a new craze." Derek points out that everyone would start buying them and there would be a lot less for us. Good point. Let's not then. Derek and I are walking home when I remember I have mints in my pocket. I take them out and the first one still has fluff on it. I'm just about to flick it off when Marcus barges in. He says, "Wasn't my fault in science today. You know." And so, if you say so, Marcus, then he says, "Mints, don't mind if I do," and just helps himself. Too late to mention the fluff now. Yum, mint, He doesn't seem to notice. I've cheered up and suggest that Derek that we, 1, go to Norman's house for band practice today, see how he is. 2, buy a few more treats at the shop, some for us, some for later with Norman. 3, take treats over to Norman's house for band practice. Derek goes off and we both say, "Later, dude," at the same time. There's so many things to think about when you're in a band. My birthday, getting very close. When I get home, Mum doesn't look too happy because Auntie Alice, who's popped in with the cousins, is telling her all about their wonderful holiday they have planned this year. After a while, one pure white sandy beach starts to look like another. Auntie Alice laughs. "I'm sure they do," Mum smiles. Auntie Alice wants to know if we'll be going camping again this year. And Mum says, I hope not. While they carry on chit-chatting, the cousins are searching the kitchen for snacks. Mum says, if you're looking for biscuits, we don't have any. But I know someone who does, so I take the cousins out to see Dad in his shed. Dad is mid-bite when we look through the window, which gives him a bit of a shock. He says he was just having a quick break and best not to mention the secret stash to Mum. Then Dad gives us one each to keep quiet, I suspect. The cousins are looking round the shed, then at me. Then they ask, 1, why's your jumper so small? It's a long story. 2, what kind of party will I have at Dino Village? Dad tells them we'll all get to wear 3D glasses that make the dinosaurs look real. The cousins don't look that impressed. Then he adds, there'll be cake too. That works. Cake. Not long to wait now. We take one more biscuit each and leave Dad to his work. Back in the house, I'm really hoping that Mum has shown Auntie Alice my birthday wish list. I might have to drop a few hints in case she's forgotten. Oh, look, a birthday wish list. They are both drinking tea, and I'm just about to accidentally, on purpose, point to my birthday wish list. Again, when Mum starts complaining about horrible unwanted pests and visitors that come into your garden and eat something in your house and eat absolutely everything. I'm wondering if she means the cousins. Then Auntie Alice says, if you're not careful, they can grow to be enormous, which is true. Those slimy creatures eat all my vegetables. It's only when she mentions vegetables that I realise it's not the cousins. It's an easy mistake to make. They're not vegetables. Speaking of slimy creatures and unwanted pests, while Mum and Auntie Alice are chatting, the cousins are watching TV, I'm inspired to do a few drawings. More slime. Mum interrupts my drawing to tell me everything is sorted for my party. The cousins and Auntie Alice will meet us at Dino Village tomorrow. It's tricky to keep up with all the stuff that's going on, which is why I forgot about band practice at Norman's house until Derek comes round and reminds me, and about changing my jumper too. Jumper, dude. Good point. Band practice at Norman's. My Dog Zombies t-shirt is so much more comfortable and looks better too. I've got my guitar and have saved Norman a few snacks from the shop. On the way to Norman's, Derek and I are discussing how Norman managed to hurt his leg playing champ with those little kids. We're impressed that he's managed to stay off the whole week from school with his dodgy leg. Derek has already called him to say we're coming. Norman sounded fine when I spoke to him, he says. And I say, Norman will be watching telly with his feet up and very happy to be missing maths. Derek says, how bad can he be? Much worse than we thought. Turns out it was an actually champ accident after all. Norman actually fell off his bike when he got home and badly bruised both his elbows and twisted his ankle. He tells us a twig blew into my wheel which made the bike stop really suddenly. I went flying through the air. I looked like a superhero right until I landed. I'm getting better already, he adds. Norman says he can still play the drums even with his dodgy elbows. Then he shows us. I don't think that's going to work, Norman, Derek says. I tell Norman we can cancel the school disco gig until he gets better. He looks a bit disappointed. I say, besides, we need your loud drums to drown out the mistakes we make, which is true. A Dog Zombies band practice isn't going to happen now. We concentrate on cheering up Norman by 1. Doing an impression of Rooster's extra fluffy fur at the dog show. 2. Doing an impression of Mr. Sprocket breakdancing. Norman is laughing a lot. He says we need to stop being funny because it's making his arms hurt, which wasn't exactly our plan. Derek and I leave Norman to rest. I give him the bag of snacks I got him. Derek offers Norman some of his treats too. I guess he'd forgotten about Norman and treat equals wild. Not good if you're trying to recover from sore elbows. Norman seems happy enough though. On the way home, Derek and I see more kids wearing small jumpers. Derek says, they're everywhere now, and I say proudly, it's official. I am a cool trendsetter and not just someone who didn't want to wear a damp jumper. Oh yes. Then Dad reminds me that my birthday is tomorrow. Things are just getting better and better, just like Norman's elbows and ankle. Hopefully. Yeah! As soon as I walk through the door, Mum wants to know if I have any homework to do. Get it all done before your birthday. Normally, I would say I've got no homework at all, but today it's different. I surprise Mum and says I will get all my homework done tonight on time right now. I'm hoping she is extra impressed. I take out a calculator too, to make Mum think I'm doing difficult maths. I don't mention doodling on my sketchbook. Worksheet 1 can wait. This is more fun, and it's my birthday tomorrow too. I've finished my homework early. Let me just say that again. I've finished my homework early and discovered that my ultraviolet pen is even more useful than I thought. I catch Delia sneaking past my room with 3 copies of Rock Weekly. She says, they're hers. They're not. Mum hears us arguing and wants to know what's going on. Then I say Delia has been taking my stuff. Then Delia says I'm a stupid boy who knows nothing. So I get out my torch and shine it on one of the Rock Weekly covers and, oh yes, she is so busted. Then Mum says, as I finish my homework early, we can nip to the shops and pick up a few more school jumpers and a few other things, like some earplugs, Delia adds helpfully. Mum gives Delia a stare and says, no, things for Tom's birthday. Delia groans and slopes off back into her room. I've learnt that when Mum says we'll nip somewhere, it's supposed to mean it won't take any time at all. We'll be quick, she says, or super speedy. This is not true. Nip, add shopping equals ages and ages and ages. I still have to go though. Shopping with Mum is a mission. She keeps choosing really sad things for me to try on. I saw Mum, I'm not 5 years old, every time she picks up a pair of trainers that flash when you walk. Eventually, we find a nice normal size school jumper and a double pack of white t-shirts that are perfect for PE. I will try to remember to bring at least one of the t-shirts to school. That way I can avoid the spare sports kit of shame. You can easily spot the person who's forgotten their PE kit. Everything in the spare sports kit looks a bit manky. Then, just when I think we've finished shopping, Mum wants me to try on this hat. It's lovely. You used to have one when you were little. She says, I've been so good that for an early birthday treat I can have the latest copy of Rock Weekly. Excellent. Then she says, try on the hat first, which is a bit sneaky of her, if you ask me. Before I can change my mind, she squeezes it over my head. Mum says I look like a sweet little frog and want to take a photo. That's when I realise the hat has a face. I am forced to dive inside the nearest coat rail and hide. I tell Mum I'm not coming out until she puts her camera away, and I can't get the stupid hat off because I'm too squashed. I have to wait until the coast is clear, which takes ages as there are people everywhere. Now I can hear Mum chit-chatting with someone. I don't know who she's talking to. No one is seeing me in this stupid hat. I'm staying hidden for as long as I can, which is not very long, as the sales assistant suddenly parts all the coats around me and says, oh, hello, and if that's not bad enough, now I can see who Mum's been talking to. Amy Porter and her mum. I try and take off the hat, but it gets stuck around my ears, and Mum has to help me pull it over my head, like I'm 3 years old or something. Groan. Amy says, nice hat, Tom, and I say, Mum made me try it on. It's all so embarrassing. I can't leave the shop fast enough. Mum has to catch up with me, and she can see I'm a bit fed up. So she suggests that we can go and get the copy of Rock Weekly that I promised you, which helps a little bit. While we're in the shop, I spot some coloured ultraviolet pens that can be used on t-shirts, so I tell Mum that if she really wants to cheer me up, these would be good too. I can see she's thinking about it, so I said, I'll spend less time watching telly, which does the trick nicely. I hope Amy keeps my hat shame to herself. It's not going to be easy to sleep tonight because I'm very excited. In case anyone forgets about my birthday, I have stuck a few notes around the house with some messages on. Tom's birthday today. Yeah, my birthday today. Tom's birthday today. Dad comes into my room to say goodnight. I say, I can't wait for tomorrow. And he says, why? What's happening tomorrow? Anything special? Like he can't remember. My dad is hilarious. I know he's joking, because I can hear Mum and Dad wrapping up a present downstairs. It takes them a while to do. It could be a big present then. Happy birthday to me. Just for a change, I am up really early. When I run downstairs, I can see someone, Delia, has been busy writing on my notes. Tom's sick today. Yeah, my sister's birthday today. Tom's wash today. Dad is singing and making pancakes in the kitchen. They're not pink like the ones Granny Mavis makes. He says, Happy birthday, Tom! But the real surprise is that Delia is holding something in front of her that looks like a present and a card. Must be a mistake. This can't be for me. On the card it says, To my irritating little brother. It's for me then. Delia is being nice, and it's a bit odd and must be a strain for her. She gives me the present and says, Happy birthday, make the most of it. I open it really carefully in case there's something nasty inside. Mum comes and takes a photo. It's only a double pack of caramel wafers and a Do 3 calendar with some big pull-out poster. Wow, thanks Delia. I'm shocked. I'm looking through the calendar and I spot that she has put a gold star on her birthday. She says, I'll be expecting a good present from you on my birthday now. No pressure then. I can think of a few presents for Delia. How to be cheerful? Shampoo? The fossils have come round early today and are extra jolly for my birthday. Granny says she has brought home made food for the party. I can't look. Delia's already gone up to her room, so Grandad thinks he should say hello and attempt to get Delia into the party mood. Good luck with that, Grandad. He says, I'll practice my party entertainment, which means he'll be playing the spoons. I think. Wrong. I forgot about this false teeth trick. Now Delia is back to being her normal grumpy self again. I have a really delicious birthday breakfast with Mum and Dad and the fossils, who occasionally break into song. La 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 la. Mum and Dad say I can have my present after my party. Dad says it's a very big gift, so they'll need help bringing it into the house, like it's an elephant or something. Granny wants to put some finishing touches to her cooking. Peas and jelly, anyone? This seems like a good time to go to my room and get changed. Best not to watch what Granny does. My mind gets taken off Granny's cooking when I hear a loud music coming from Delia's room. I take a look through the crack in the door and see Delia dancing, well, sort of headbanging to a rock track. Her sunglasses keep falling off when she shakes her head. It's hilarious. Then I watch while she sticks them back on top of her head with a bit of tape. I'm trying not to laugh, but I can't help it. Delia spots me and tells me to get lost. I say, be nice to me. It's my birthday. She says, get lost, please. Very funny. And make sure you keep your stinky friends out of my room when I'm not here. So I say, my friends aren't stinky, and when is she leaving? And she says, right now. I think Delia's forgotten about the sticky tape on her head. As she's on her way out of the house, I could remind her, because she does look a bit stupid, but why cause her the trouble? As I have some spare time before everyone arrives at my party, I decide to put it to good use and try out my coloured ultraviolet pens on my new white t-shirts. I have lots of good ideas for both of them. It will be a super secret design that we can wear in school. No one will see it unless they have a special torch, which is not likely to happen in PE. This one could be a good birthday present for Delia. I think when they dry, they won't be able to see anything. But when you put the torch on it, I'm a massive idiot. I've just finished my t-shirts when Derek arrives. Happy birthday, Tom! Then Marklum and Solid turn up. Next with what look like very interesting presents. Mum says I'm not allowed to open them until after Dino Village. Amy arrives next for the Florence. She says, Florence is sick and can't come. And I say, that's a shame, and it's usually Julia Martin who gets sick, as a joke. And Amy says, funny you should mention Julia, because Amy forgot that Julia was coming to her house today. She says, would it be okay if Julia could come instead of Florence? And I say, sure, which is just as well, as Julia is already here. Hello, Tom. Granny is offering some of her special biscuits around and some extra crunchy finger biscuits to Julia. Granny says, don't worry, they're not real fingers, but Julia is already looking a bit pale. Then Granny wonders if anyone would like to try a cheese and chocolate sandwich. Delicious. Maybe later, Granny. Much, much later. Mum is staying at home with the fossils to get everything ready for when we get back from the party. Dad is in the van and ready. He's hooting and roaring the engine outside. Everyone thinks Dad's hired the dino van especially for the party. I don't tell them we have to go to the supermarket in it too. Mum has sent us off with a few caramel wafers for the journey. Yeah, they keep us going until we arrive. Uncle Kevin and the cousins are already waiting outside. He thinks that Dad has gone to a lot of trouble hiring a special van for the party. That must have cost a bit, Uncle Kevin asks. Dad says it was a bit pricey, but money well spent. I'm sure he told Mum the van was free. But I don't say anything because I've seen the Dino Village entrance. It's amazing. Inside we meet Larry, our dino guide. He's very dramatic and loud. He says, are you ready to go on a journey into the unknown where dinosaurs will come to life? We all say, yeah, apart from Julia, who says, sort of. Amy says, your granny's fingers biscuits creeped her out a bit, which I can understand. Uncle Kevin asks Dad what he's been up to lately, and Dad says, this and that, just when someone calls out Dad's name. Hello, Frank, is that your son then? He's pointing to me. Dad introduces us to Mr. Rex, who is the manager of Dino Village. Dad explains to Uncle Kevin that he's been signing out a lot of posters and promotional material for Dino Village. Dad asks Mr. Rex, I hope it's bringing some new customers. And Mr. Rex says, it's the promotional van we lent that people are seeing everywhere, even the supermarket. So that's doing a good job. Keep up the good work. Dad is smiling in a slightly embarrassed way. He says, it's all part of the big marketing plan, whatever that means. Larry is busy handing out the 3D glasses we have to wear on the Dino Village train. Dad says that compared to a normal theme park, Dino Village is quite compact. We still have to get into the mini train that takes us on a 3D dino story tour. It's a bit like a ghost train at a fairground. So far, it's amazing. We travel through all sorts of different scenes. There's loads to look at. The cousins are already laughing at all the scary stuff that's supposed to make you jump. There are plenty of sound effects too. Roar! Derek keeps shouting in my ear every time a dinosaur roars. The whole tour is fantastic. The last scene in the pretend village, Larry tells us to look out for the dinosaurs that have escaped into the village. The train slows right down. A massive roar makes the train shake. It's quite scary. The roar gets louder, and with our 3D glasses on, it feels like we're being chased by a huge dinosaur. The train takes off, just in time for us to get away safely. Solid says, how brilliant was that? Everyone agrees, apart from Julia, who still feels a bit pale. Uncle Kevin thinks it was very well done, and jokes that Frank had a full head of hair when he arrived. Larry shows us around the rest of the village, which includes a reptile and creature section. Larry says we can take turns in holding a very hairy spider. Who'd like to go first? Julia doesn't seem too keen. Mark Clump is, and so are the cousins, who volunteer first. Uncle Kevin says they are very brave boys and not scared of anything. They take it after me, he adds. Then Larry tells Uncle Kevin it's your turn next, and puts the spider on his arm before he can change his mind. Hold still, I'll take a photo of you brave boys together, Dad says, kind of joking. Suddenly, Uncle Kevin doesn't look quite so brave. When the spider's removed, he breathes a huge sigh of relief. Larry tells us our table is ready in the Dino Village cafe and we all cheer. Yeah, everyone is starving, apart from Julia, who's not hungry at all. My special table does look a bit like a kid's party, but I don't care. We can still hear the roaring in the background, which makes us all jump when we're least expecting it. Dad says it sounds like my stomach rumbling. True. On the menu, we have a choice of wriggly worms with tomato sauce, spaghetti, of course, juicy dino burger and jungle salad, beef burger and salad, fresh dino bird and breadcrumbs, chicken, and lots of other weird things. I say to Derek, it looks like something Granny Mavis would cook. While I'm reading the menu, I realise something. Looks very familiar. I can't think what it is though. The posters are reminding me. What is it? I'm trying to remember when the big jug of dino slime arrives. I get distracted. It's apple juice, I think. It even has ice cubes with creatures frozen inside them. Not real ones, of course, I tell Julia. My party is going very well. Amy and Julia seem to be enjoying themselves. Solid has a sore throat from shouting too much. He says the dino slime is making him feel better. Dad takes pictures of everyone together. Then Mark Clump gives me a small box. He says, don't open it now, as it's only part of the present. The rest of it is back at my house. But I haven't opened anything yet, so I say thanks and decide just to take a sneaky peek inside to see what it is. Which is a bit of a mistake, because out pop 3 little grasshoppers. They jump down the table. I try and catch them before they escape. Bits of food are flying everywhere as Solid keeps grabbing the plates onto Uncle Kevin and he goes crazy. He's brushing himself down crazy. Get them off me, get them off me, while Dad is busy taking more photos. Smile. Mark Clump manages to catch 2 and Derek gets the last one. I pop them back in the box and say, whoops, to Mark, who says, I did warn you. Point taken. Dad keeps taking pictures of the party when the lights suddenly go down and someone is holding a big dinosaur cake with candles. Everyone sings happy birthday and I blow all the candles out. When the lights go up, I notice that the waiter is wearing a very silly costume. It's a spotty dinosaur outfit with glittery boots. I'm sure I've seen that costume before somewhere. I double check it's not Dad in the costume. It's not. Phew. And that's when I remember I saw the costume in our house. I nudge Derek and tell him, well, I've seen that costume before, and now I thought my dad was going to wear it to the school disco. Imagine if my dad had come to our school disco wearing that stupid costume. How embarrassing would that have been? Derek says, shame. We eat some cake and check out the dino goodie bags for more treats. It's been a really fun party. Dad takes a few more photos of us on the way out. Now I'm telling Amy and Julia about the costume and how I'd panicked because I thought Dad was going to be the DJ at the school disco wearing that costume. They both laugh. Ha 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 ha. Can you imagine the shame of all those kids looking at my dad in that dinosaur costume? Then Amy says, Tom, I think you should come and see this. Come and visit Dino Village. Have your party here too. Amazing 3D tour. Amy says, isn't that your dad? And I say, yes, that is my dad, in the dinosaur costume, with the glittery boots on and everything. In the van going home, I keep seeing that poster everywhere. Mark Clump and Solid are playing Spot the Dinosaur poster. So far, Dad's been on the side of a bus, at a bus stop, on a wall. In fact, it's all over town. Dad says it was part of the job he did for Dino Village. Besides, it was easier and cheaper to be in the poster myself. Why wouldn't I do it? And I say, not to embarrass me on my birthday or any other day of the week. Seems like a good reason to me. Everyone says it's not that bad, and you can't tell it's my dad in the poster, which is not true. But I will just have to get used to them being everywhere. When we get home, Granny Mavis has put out some of her homemade treats, which are interesting. Olive biscuits, fruit pizza. At least I get to open my presents now. It takes my mind off the posters. Derek has bought me, oh yeah, the new Do 3 CD. Excellent. He says he might have to borrow it too, which is fine by me. Solid has got me some excellent rock t-shirts and a massive pack of caramel wafers. A perfect combination. Amy's present is some very nice drawing pens that change colour when you mix them, and a drawing book too. I know you like doodling, she says, and don't forget this one. Another present? I open it up, and Mum says, how lovely. Amy remembered. So she did. It suited you, Tom. I thought you'd want to wear it for the next Dog Zombies gig. Amy is joking, I hope, because it's only that hat with the two big eyes. Mum and Granny are saying, oh, really loudly, and want me to try it on. That is not going to happen. I changed the subject and opened the card Julia has bought me. It has money inside. Yeah. Then Mark gives me the rest of his present. He says, you don't have to keep the grasshoppers. They were a clue to what the real present is. I could give them to my snake. I'm wondering what my real present is now. It's part 2 of Vampire Swamp Zombies. Vampire swamp monsters versus blood-sucking grasshoppers. The cousins tell me it's really good. Not scary at all. I say, I'll definitely watch it. I don't say from behind the cushion, which is how I usually watch scary films. Then the cousins give me their present. It's a mini sea creature kit. I've always wanted one of those. Sea creatures are really tiny and hatch out when you put them in water and feed them special food. The pictures on the side show the creatures living in their own homes. I asked the cousins if they really look like that, and they say, no, they look weird, which should be interesting to see. Time to open my present from Mum and Dad. They look more excited than me, especially Dad. Hurry up! I open it up and it's a guitar book. I give it a shake in case there's any money in it. You never know. No, nothing. Oh well, I need a guitar songbook, so that's good. I'm flicking through it and showing it to Derek when Mum tells me to go into the kitchen. Can you get me a tissue, please, Tom? And I'm wondering why I have to go. It is my birthday, after all. Then Dad says, hurry up, Tom. I roll my eyes at Derek and say, won't be too long. Then go into the kitchen, and there's a guitar-shaped present for me. From Mum and Dad and the fossils. Oh, yeah! Derek is almost as excited as me. He says it's a shame we're not playing the Dog Zombies gig at the school disco now, so I can use my guitar. It's not. I'm so happy I actually hug Mum and Dad and the fossils in front of all my family and friends. Woo! Woo! Just before everyone goes home, Grandad decides to entertain us by playing the spoons. It goes down surprisingly well, till Granny starts singing along, which is a bit embarrassing for my friends. He accidentally drops one sausage in the jug of orange juice. Mum has made me another cake, or a proper cake, as she tells Auntie Alice. It's a Dog Zombies cake. Wow. While Mum's busy cutting the cake, Delia slopes in. She's been avoiding me and my friends. The fossils are making everyone laugh, and Delia's still taking photos. Dad's still taking photos while Delia helps herself to a drink. She's too busy being grumpy to notice anything odd dropping into her glass. I'm not going to tell her about the sausage in the juice. She can find that out herself. I've had a brilliant birthday party. I say bye and thanks to everyone again as they leave. Uncle Kevin wants to know how Dad's photos have turned out. Dad says, really well, especially the ones with you and the grasshoppers. I'll send you copies. Mum thinks I should get ready for bed. Bed? It's far too early and I'm not sleepy at all. I go to my room and listen to Do 3's new album, which is fantastic. I have to keep turning the music down so Mum thinks I'm going to bed. Instead, I do some drawing with my new pens in my new book. My Dog Zombies birthday cake has reminded me that due to Norman's elbows, we're not playing at the school disco. At least we have a real excuse not to play this time. I had thought of a few more excuses if we needed them, just in case, like my guitar was abducted by aliens, Derek's keyboard shrank in the rain, A monster ate Norman's drum kit. Not sure how well they would have worked. I can use them another time. I'll just swap guitar, keyboard, drum kit for homework. Now Dad pops his head around the door and he says, "Hey birthday boy, bed now, but I'm desperate to listen to D3 just one more time." I put on some headphones. It's so good that I start singing, just a little bit. Delia bangs on my door and she says, "What's that horrible noise? Shut up, will you?" So I say, "It's still my birthday. Be nice." Then she says, "Shut up, will you? Please." I ignore her and carry on singing, only much louder. This time, then Delia tells me that if I promise to stop singing, she'll buy me another present. Stupidly, I say, "And yeah, really?" And she says, "Yes, singing lessons. You sound like a freak. Shut up or I'll take back the calendar I gave you." I've had such a good birthday that not even Delia can spoil it now. The rest of the weekend she keeps trying to, though. I managed to ignore her and relax. There's a bit of leftover cake to eat, and I even tried Granny Mavis's finger biscuits. Mum is busy looking at all the photos Dad took. She's laughing at the ones of Uncle Kevin. Dad says we mustn't forget to send him copies. "Are you sure he'll want them?" Mum says. Then Dad says, "Oh yes, this one's my particular favourite. Who knew grasshoppers could be so scary?" In class, I brought a couple of the best photos in to show everyone who was at the party. Amy says she had a really good time, which is nice. Then Marcus butts in and says, "It must be so embarrassing for you." I say, "Not really. My Uncle Kevin was quite funny." And he says, "No, I mean your dad wearing that dinosaur costume on all those posters everywhere." I've forgotten about the poster. Thanks, Marcus. So I say, "It's not that bad. Besides, hardly anyone knows it's my dad." Marcus says, "They might now." Great, trust him to blab about the poster. Oh well, I'm not going to let him spoil the rest of my day, because Mr. Fullerman says we have to do something important right now. We do? Not more times table squares, please. Then he asks me to come to the front of the class. I'm trying to think of anything I've done wrong. Normal size jumper? Tick. On time today? Tick. Homework? Maybe. Maybe not. Then Mr. Fullerman and the whole class suddenly start singing. Happy birthday to me. Marcus is singing and doing an L-shaped sign on his head at the same time for loser, which is nice of him. It's a bit embarrassing, but I say thanks to everyone and take a bow. Then I remember to say suddenly that due to Norman's dodgy elbows, dog zombies will not be playing at the school disco this year. But add that Norman is really looking forward to coming back to school. He's not. I made that bit up, but it sounds good. From the look of Mr. Fullerman's face, I think he'd forgotten we had to cancel. He says, "Mr. Keane will be very disappointed." Again. I could give him a few excuses from Mr. Keane if he needed them. "Let's hope the DJ is as good as your band, Tom," Mr. Fullerman adds. "I hope the DJ is 1, better than dog zombies, 2, not my dad, 3, not Derek's dad." Mr. Fullerman hands back our sketchbooks, and inside there is more good news for me. "Really excellent sketchbook cover, Tom. 6 merits. I will ask Mr. Keane to mention your good work in next month's newsletter. Mr. Fullerman." Mr. Fullerman is possibly my favourite teacher ever. I have 6 merits for my sketchbook cover, and I'm going to be in the next newsletter too. I will show it to Mum and Dad this time. The worksheet was stuck in my sketchbook too. Marcus is looming over my shoulder, trying to look at my sketchbook, so I start drawing. He's still looking. He wants to know what I'm drawing. So I say, "Guess." At the end of the lesson, Mr. Fullerman suggests that we should make Norman a get well soon card, which is a good idea. He gives us all a plain white sticker to draw on and sign our names. He says I do a monster eating a biscuit because Norman loves biscuits. Amy draws a smiling cat to cheer Norman up, and Marcus draws a worm. Why? "To Norman, yo, from Tom." "To Norman, from Amy." Worm, zzz. He says it's a great well soon worm. Of course it is. Silly me. Then everyone puts the stickers on a giant card. I'm sure Norman will really like it. He won't be quite as keen on the mountain of schoolwork Mr. Fullerman is sending home for him to catch up on, though. Posters for the school disco are up everywhere now. Some people are getting very excited. There are kids practicing their dances at lunchtime too. Derek suggests that we could join in and show them some of our rock star poses. And I say we could, or we could keep our excellent reputation and not look stupid, because I can see Amy, Florence, Indrani and Julia all sitting on a bench within watching distance. Instead, Derek starts to wonder which teachers will do the most embarrassing dancing this year. And I say all of them. Derek does a wobble dance and tells me, "This is Mr. Keane," which is really funny. I do a mad pogo dance, jumping up and down. "Who's this? Mrs. Mumble?" "No." "Mr. Fullerman?" "Yes." Then I do another one, a really silly dance, swaying from side to side. "Who's this then, Derek?" He's not answering. "Guess who? You know, Mrs. I'm swaying and making swirly moustache movements with my hands. I give him another hint by pointing to my top lip. Then Derek says, "Tom, Mrs. Worthington." And I say, "Yes, I bet she dances just like that." "You'll have to wait and see, Tom," Mrs. Worthington tells me. How was I supposed to know she was standing right behind me? I can hear all the girls laughing in the background too. That's just great then. Marcus says he saw me dancing like an idiot at lunchtime. And I say, "I was pretending to dance like Mrs. Worthington." I admit, it was embarrassing. Marcus starts telling me what a good dancer he is and how everyone will be watching him at the school disco. I'm sure I'll be wearing my specially signed Do 3 t-shirt too. Mr. Fulham comes to my rescue. He tells Marcus to stop talking in class. "Thanks, Mr. Fullerman. I haven't even thought about what I'll be wearing to the disco. I'll probably just wear whatever's nearest, or I might wear my t-shirt." Later that afternoon, Mrs. Mumble makes an announcement over the tannoy. She says, "Any students wearing very small jumpers, please make sure you can have the correct size tomorrow, thank you." Not me then. Just in case we didn't get the message, we get a letter to take home too, from Oakfield School. "Dear parents and carers, it has come to my attention that many of the children seem to be wearing very small jumpers. This uniform change seems to creep in from time to time. Please can I ask everyone to ensure they have the correct size jumper in the future? Yours sincerely, Mr. Keane, Headmaster." That's my shrink knit craze over with. It was fun while it lasted. School disco. I make sure I put the right school jumper on this morning, as Mr. Keane will be checking everyone at the school gate and probably at the school disco. Today I have my least favourite subject all day long. Somehow I force myself to stay wide awake and perky right through maths, followed by spelling, then history. My last lesson today is with Mr. Fullerman, and he asks us to design a big poster. He says, "Imagine you're attracting new pupils to come to Oakfield School. Tell me what is special about the school. Explain why you like your teachers. What is the best thing about the school?" I say very quietly to Amy, "Small poster then," forgetting about Mr. Fullerman's superhuman hearing. He gives me a "get on with your work" stare. I wait until he's got turned around to do a few doodles. Nothing fancy. Then he tells me to stop doodling and start writing. Mr. Fullerman doesn't even turn round. How does he know that? Marcus keeps nudging me and saying he knows all the words to Do 3 songs and dance moves too. So I say, "Good for you, Marcus." He's being extra annoying today. I have a few ideas for the poster now. "Come to Oakfield School if you like annoying kids watching teachers dance in very weird ways. Teachers who have superhuman powers, X-ray eyes, that sort of thing. Supersonic ears that hear everything you say. Wearing spare manky PE kit. Never a dull moment at Oakfield School." Good poster. I think that says it all. I wasn't that bothered about the school disco until I saw some of the good snacks. Suddenly I am extra keen to go. When I get home, Delia is in her room listening to my new Do 3 album. I tell her to hand it over now. She says it's hers and she says it's mine, bought her own copy. I need my special torch to check for the secret mark, but I can't find it anywhere. It's disappeared, which is really annoying. From the way Delia is laughing, I bet she knows where it is. Grr. I decide to deal with my grumpy sister later, as Derek will be round soon. I have to get ready for the school disco. Not that putting on a t-shirt will take that long, but there's a small problem. I'm not totally sure which t-shirt is the Grumpy Delia t-shirt and which is the cool one I made. When Derek turns up, he can't tell which one either. Wear this one, he says. I'm going to bring the other one too, just in case he's wrong. Good thinking. Dad offers to give us a lift back to school, so we're not late for the disco. When Dad pulls up outside, loads of people are staring at us. I keep forgetting about that dino van. Derek and I go inside, where the school hall is all done up like a proper disco with lights flashing everywhere. We're busy looking for the snacks when some kids come up and ask, "Is that your dad on all those posters around town dressed as a dinosaur?" Great, that's all I need. So I say the only thing I can in this situation. No, that's not my dad. Why would you even think that? The kids point to Marcus, who is standing at the back of the hall. That boy there's been telling everybody it's your dad. Groan. Thanks, Marcus. I'm not going to let him ruin my evening. I suggest to Derek and I should get some juice, which is a good idea. Hey, I can see the drawing on your t-shirt now, Derek says. Must be ultraviolet light like the torches. My eyes are glowing too. At least I'm wearing the right one, which does look amazing. Then Mr. Keane announces that we have a very special DJ tonight. Give a big Oakfield welcome to Mr. Sprocket. He says, "Yo everyone," which is embarrassing. A bit like his outfit. He puts on some loud music that brings a few more people on the dance floor. Boys are whizzing around and skidding on their knees, while other kids do a robot dance in a line. Most of the girls stick together on the other side of the hall, chatting and laughing. The teachers try to encourage everyone to join in. Mrs. Worthington is dancing exactly like I thought she would. Mr. Fullerman is giving some of the boys one of his stares, which stops them from skidding too much. Then, when Mr. Sprocket only goes and puts on a Do 3 song, Derek and I rush to do some air punching and pretend guitar playing, which we are very good at by now. Marcus is jumping up and down near us. He's got his eyes closed and is spinning around and bumping into everyone. He says, "Out of my way," which is annoying. Then he bumps into me, so I bump into him, which makes him bump right back into me on purpose. But I do manage to swerve out of his way, and he goes flying across the dance floor and crashes right into Mrs. Mumble, who's holding a massive plastic jug of water for Mr. Sprocket. Well, not anymore. She was. Marcus is soaking wet and starts pointing at me saying, "I pushed him, like it's my fault." Mrs. Mumble thinks we should both be more careful. Caretaker Stan is busy cleaning up the floor so there are no more accidents. Mrs. Mumble thinks Marcus might have to go home early, unless you borrow some dry stuff to wear from the spare kit box. Then Derek reminds me that I have a spare t-shirt that Marcus can borrow, and I say, "Oh yes, so I do." Mrs. Mumble thinks that's a great idea, so I go and give it to Marcus, who doesn't even say thank you. Derek tells Marcus not to stand too near the ultraviolet light with his t-shirt on, and Marcus says, "Whatever," so it's not like we didn't warn him. Mr. Sprocket has been playing lots of good music, surprisingly. He's trying hard not to dance himself. It's nearly the end of the disco when Mr. Sprocket says, "Is everyone ready to jump?" We are. There's a big crowd of kids all gathering around in a circle. Everybody jump, jump. Me and Derek jump over to join in. Amy, Florence and Indrani are there too. There's a very big crowd who seems to be watching someone in the middle of the group dancing. I don't think it's one of the teachers, and it's not Norman, as he's still got his dodgy elbows. Derek and I jump up to see who it is. It looks like Marcus, who's jumping up and down. He's enjoying all the attention he's getting. I say to Derek. When the song's over, he comes over to us and is looking extra smug. He says, I told you everyone would be watching me because I am such a great dancer. And I say, yes, Marcus, that's exactly why they were looking at you. I tell Marcus he can't keep the t-shirt because it really suits him. Fool. Strong pong. Fart. I am a massive idiot. Derek and I agreed that this year's school disco has been excellent. I enjoyed jumping up and dancing a lot more than I expected to. Mr. Fingal, Derek's dad, picks us up. He says, it's such a shame I couldn't DJ this year. It's not. Derek says that Mr. Sprocket did a good job and will probably do it again next year and the following year too. He's making sure his dad never DJs again, I think. When I get home, I'm going to have a quick play on my new guitar. Yeah, I'm in a really good mood until I walk through the door and hear music coming from my room. It's Delia again, messing with my stuff. I have to tell Mum and Dad what she's up to, but I can't find them in the kitchen or in the front room or upstairs. Delia's not in her room either because she's in mine, so I open the door to catch her and says, get out of my room and leave my stuff alone. And Mum says, hi Tom, did you have a good time? Now I'm wondering why everyone is in my room. Dad says he's learned to play a new Do 3 song on the guitar, and I have to remind him that it's my guitar, in case he'd forgotten. He's actually not bad. Even Delia's impressed. Dad says it's easy to learn. I say, if I had my guitar back, I would. I take the opportunity of Mum and Dad being in my room to tell Delia I want my special torch back too. I know you have it. Mum suggests she goes and gets it, which is good. Then Mum says that we are such a musical family, we should all be in a band together, like the Partridge Family. I have no idea what she's talking about, but it sounds like a terrible idea. Dad eventually gives me my guitar back, and I manage to work out a bit of that Do 3 song as well. Dog Zombie should learn to play this too. We might finally get to play in front of the whole school, which would keep Mr. Keane happy. It could be amazing. Well, sort of.